Hey guys, it's Spooky Noodles, and I'm here to tell you about my self-reading challenge, meaning that I'm setting a goal for myself and I plan on doing it. So hopefully this will go better than the Islands of Horror readathon, which is ending in a few days. Never really continued reading Island by Richard Lehman. I got caught up with other things, and it was a failure, to say the least. And I really regret not finishing it because it was such a good book. It's sitting on my to be read books I haven't finished pile, which is a lot. I've started a lot of books this year and haven't finished a lot of books, so yeah. But with that said, I want to do this. I'm a little committed because right now I'm trying to write a book that is both horror and Western. So my self-reading challenge is read as many horror Westerns as I can before I get bored, and then I'll write a book. So I don't know where to start, honestly. I have so many books that I can read. I have one book coming in the mail. I have a few books that I have on my wish list. Then I have a few books on Kindle and one paperback. So we're going to start off with the first book, not in any order. In fact, if anything, I'm going to start with a certain book, but when I get to it, I will tell you about it. But this is in no order. So the first book I intend to read is Jason Gilhert's Demon Revolver. Now, this one starts on page 3 and ends on page 96. So what is that? 93 pages long. So it's a novella. It's a small novella, and I'm looking forward to reading it eventually. It's going to be one of those definitely can be done things. I'm looking very forward to reading this. I haven't heard much about this book at all. This one has stories such as Demon Revolver, The Woodsman 2, The Ghost Bride, and Quivering Dreams. So the first 3 are by Jason Gilhart. The last one is by Tammy Gilhart. So yeah. And then The Woodsman 2 sounds like a sequel, but it doesn't matter. In the end, I'm here to only read Demon Revolver at the moment. Then later on, in some given time, I will probably read the rest of the books or stories listed in this book. But I plan reading the Demon Revolver when I get bored and I need something quick to read, because it's only 93 pages, so I think I can commit myself to reading 93 pages regardless. So that is the first book I wanted to mention, the only paperback I own currently that is a Western horror. I have to open up my Kindle app for this next one. So I'm about to list, let's see here, 5 coming, sorry, I'm thinking about another video I was planning on making. 5 Western horror novels. Now, 3 of these are part of a series called the Splatter Western series, and there's only 3 right now, so I'm gonna call it a trilogy. So in this Splatter Western trilogy, you have 3 books, and I will get to them in a second, but first we will talk about the first 2 books. So let's start with Mr. Forbes, or M.R. Forbes, my bad, The Sheriff. And sorry for the glare. I wish I had better editing equipment. I would throw the picture up here, but I just don't. So if y'all know any software that does that, where I can just throw up images right there, that would be really neat. I would love to add that to my channel, but for now I don't own that kind of software, so yeah. But this is The Sheriff by M.R. Forbes. This is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi western. So it's technically not horror western, but it's a post-apocalyptic, so that's usually, horror. So I got it because I was interested. It said if you are a fan of The Gunslinger by Stephen King, then you will be a fan of this book by M.R. Forbes. I'm not really a fan of Gunslinger because I've never read it, so I can't say I'm a fan of it. But it sounded interesting, and everyone is always raving about The Gunslinger, so I thought, why not give The Sheriff a try? So that's the first book. I'm not going to read the synopsises for these books, so just, roll with me. Next, we have Skin Medicine by Tim Curran. Look at that cover. He's peeling off someone's face, for gosh sake. How much horror can you get? How much horror western can you get is what I'm trying to say. I don't know much about this book, and I would have to read the synopsis to know more. But I know Tim Curran is a great author. I have another book called Symbiosis by Tim Curran, and I can't wait to read that book. I apologize for any noise in the background of this video. My dog is chewing a bone, so if that picks up on the camera, I apologize. But that's Skin Medicine by Tim Curran. Next, I guess we're gonna do these in a certain order. I should probably do it first to third, so let's do it that way. The next one, and this is most likely the first book I'm going to read in my little horror western reading challenge, and that is Weil E. Young's The Magpie Coffin. Wow, I jacked that up. Weil E. Young's The Magpie Coffin. And this one just looks sick. The guy's name is sick, which is Salem. I'm forgetting his name at the moment. Covington, I think? Anyways, it just looks like a really cool book. I know a little bit about it. It's this guy wants revenge because someone killed his mentor, and he goes off for seeking vengeance. So it seems like your classic western, but with splatter, like horror trickled in. So I can't wait to give it a read. It's going to be the first in my horror western readathon or reading challenge, whatever I want to call it. I have no idea what I'm going to call this book or this video. Probably the horror western reading challenge. That's probably what I'm going to call it, or self-reading challenge. But anyways, that's The Magpie Coffin. And if you know anything about the Magpie Coffin, then you know about the rest of the series so far. So you know about Ennenbach's, wow, I can't speak today, Hunger on the Chisholm Trail. And that has an awesome cover as well. I do not know who does the covers for these, but if I ever write a splatter western or a horror western, because that's probably copyrighted, I'm definitely hiring this guy to do the cover work, because this cover work is just phenomenal. I like the ox. I like the zombie ghoul thing. I like it all happening in front of a church with birds or carrion birds or whatever you call those things. Turkey vultures. I have no idea what they're called. But, yeah, looks very interesting. Next and last, we have my friend Chris Miller's book, Dust. And this one is also in front of a church. You have the main character, and this is more of a cosmic horror. At least that's what I've been told. And it's about this guy who goes basically around and he's searching for these cosmic horror monsters or eldritch monsters or whatever you call them, and he vanquishes them. So looks very entertaining, and of course I have to read this one because it's my friend's, and I've already heard amazing things about it. Some people are saying that this is the best in the series so far, which is hard to believe because everyone was raving about Magpie Coffin for the longest time, and then now they're raving about this book. I never heard, some people were really excited about the second book in the series, But from what I'm understanding or what I'm hearing is most of the rave is about the first book and then the third book. So, but the second book I bet is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the second book in this series is bad. It's probably very, very good. It's just I heard the most hype for The Magpie Coffin and Dust by Chris Miller, and Magpie Coffin being by Weil E. Young. So yeah, and now I will talk about some of the books, or I'll talk about one book that is on the way. I do not have it yet. It is coming from Texas, which is fitting, but it's coming from Texas to Michigan, so yeah. So what I'm looking at is this book called Razored Saddles, and it looks very cool. It has a bunch of authors in it. I'm blanking on the names, so let me look it up really quickly because the authors in this, it's edited by Joe R. Lansdale. So already you have like a really good horror western writer editing all these stories. So he picks out the stories. But I want to get a full list and tell you every single author that is on this, in this as a contributor. So let me pull up a list here. Robert R. McCammon begins the book with a Black Boots story. That's the story. This story is called Black Boots. It is about, I'm going to read the synopsis for each story right here because this one sounds amazing. So, a cowboy is being followed across the desert by a gunslinger wearing the titular objects. He stops in a dusty small town to drink some watered-down whiskey, but soon sees Black Boots at the door of the saloon. Ironic tragedy follows. Its touches of surrealism and well-noted, but McCammon's simplistic style nurtures the creepiness and final twist. Second story is by Scott A. Cupp, 13 Days of Glory. Freedom must be for everyone, or for none at all. Not bad, rather daring. Probably offensive to some and liberating for others. Cupp's story is engaging and yet sad. One of the few here that are memorable. Alright, so then, this is, by the way, this is a reviewer reviewing these stories. So if he says anything that's opinionated, that's the writer's opinion. So, I apologize if you get offended or anything. It's not me saying these things, it's this reviewer. So next we have Louis Shiner's Gold. So it says here it's a strong, well-told, tinged by magic realism, a style much favored in genre writers, set in Croyle swamps with strong characterization, but ends with a damp whimper as it goes into mind-numbing financial details. A huge letdown. See, that's what I mean. It's not my opinion. Yeah. Next, we have David J. Schall's Sedalia. And they say this one is just weird. And it says not fun weird, not weird, but just weird, kind of what? Weird. A proto-bizarro tale of ghost dinosaurs. Maybe some kind of fossil fuel metaphor. Taking its little from the old As Dinosaurs TV show, Rawhide. We've got drovers herding those ghost dinos in some future Los Angeles. So basically this is a weird dino story. I'll probably skip that one. Let's see here. Introduced by the editors as a bit of Weird Tales or Trap Ardath Mayer's Traplin is precisely that, a fur trapper and a gory comeuppance. Sure, why not? Whatever. The late Melissa Mia Hall, whose short fiction I've enjoyed in the past, contributes Stampede, about a single mom and her obnoxious brood and her attempts to raise them right. Realism to spare, sure, but wow, those kids suck. Two of my least favorite 80s horror writers. Ooh. That's harsh, because I hear great things about these two writers. Two of my least favorite... this is not my opinion at all. This is what I'm reading. F. Paul Wilson and Richard Lehman join the rodeo but get bucked off. Respectively, The 10th Toe and Dinker's Pawn aren't as bad as some works I've read by these guys, but they are both flat and immature, corny and obvious. Several names were new to me, even for a almost 30-year-old anthology. Lenore Carroll, whose Eldon's Penitenti, can't read that, with its theme of pain, suffering, loss, and guilt is rather memorable, and Robert Petit's, who swipes Lansdale's title and uses it all too literally in an SF tale. Al Sarantonio is in this book. He does Trail of the Chromium Bandits and Gary Razor's Empty Places. Neither did anything for me. Oh, well, that's that guy. Although the latter's moccasins struck me as particularly lame and derivative of both Lansdale and Ray Bradbury, Neil Barrett Jr.'s tale of a native criminal, Tony Red Dog, reads like Elmore Leonard light when it is readable at all, which it isn't, mostly thanks to the constant barrage of characters' first and last names. Howard Waldrop's metafictional academic treatise on Western movies, The Passing of the Western, strains even the most patient reader with a faux film history. God, it was grind getting through these stories. Final Three Tales offer surprises. So Lansdale does his own story, which is The Job, and it's a mean little bugger with a nasty twist. A pre-Tarantino riff about two articulate killers and their unexpected target. And it says, I hope you like racist slurs, though. And then Richard Christian Matheson offers I'm Always Here, with his usual pared-down prose, utilized here to solid effect in a story about dying country singer in the Hank Williams mold finds a new lease on life. It's way better than most of the stories in Matheson's Scars. I don't know what that is. And for the final, there's Chet Williamson's and his two cutely titled Yours, Skins, Jess's, So Soft and Purdy. That's a weird name. Man, there's a horrific climax waiting for you here. That cowpunk novelty can't sustain an entire anthology, and the few tales here that I kind of enjoyed aren't essential reads by any means. I know every author has more and better work elsewhere. Head out on the trail searching for those doggies, and let razored saddles fade into the sunset. So that's all that guy's opinions. I'm probably gonna like Richard Lehman's story. I'm not gonna lie. I like Richard Lehman, and this guy was kind of went on a rant about how bad he is, but I skipped a lot of it. I can't wait to read it regardless of what this reviewer says. I heard Chet Williamson's story at the end of this collection is amazing, and Robert R. McCammon's in it, and he's always got a really good story to tell. Like I said, Richard Lehman I like. I'm not a big fan of Matheson, but maybe I'll like his work in this, because this guy said it wasn't that bad. And Joe R. Lansdale writes a story, which I did not know. I thought he was just the editor, so if he writes a story in it, then I'm gonna be excited for that too. And then F. Paul Wilson I've never tried, so I'm not sure about that one. That is Razored Saddles. It's a cover by mostly, but it has a lot of good authors in it, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. If my favorite author, Ronald Kelly, wrote I bet he could write a Western, but if he did write a Western, that would be amazing. Anyways, sorry that was longer than like the whole video altogether. I probably shouldn't have read this guy's review because it was trashing the book. That is, his review's not trash. I don't know if it's trash yet, but yeah, it just sounded really opinionated, and sorry for reading it, because honestly it doesn't make me excited to read the book. It kind of bums me out, but I think I'm going to enjoy the book regardless of what that dude said. A lot of those stories sounded fascinating, except the dino herding one. I might skip that one. But, I gotta open up Amazon for the next books, because I haven't actually bought these books yet. But I want to. And then I gotta talk about my audiobooks. And I should be getting a lot of audiobooks, or 2 audiobooks soon. So, the first book I'm going to mention in the books that I really want, it's in my wish list right now, and that is Hunter Shea's Ghost Mine. It was originally called Hellhole, and it was revamped or republished as Ghost Mine. It took me forever to figure that out, because I was trying to find a Hellhole and it was out of print. There was only one copy and it was like $50. I was like, what the hell? And then I looked it up and found out they republished it, re-edited it, and now it's called Ghost Mine. Sounds like an interesting story. Really want it. And yeah. I want that for Kindle though. I think it has an audiobook, but to be honest, it probably doesn't have a good narrator. I don't know. I'm really picky on narrators, so I go into listening to things with a sour ear, I guess. John Chancer narrates this. I never heard of him, but this came out last year in May 23rd. And it's 11 hours and 6 minutes, the audiobook, so maybe I will do it. I don't know yet. This one right here is by Jonathan Janz. If you don't know who Jonathan Janz is, well, he's a horror writer, and he wrote a book called Children of the Dark, which is a coming-of-age story which I've been meaning to read soon. I think I have it on ebook, but I'm not entirely sure. My ebook library is stuffed to the brim. And by the way, I've been meaning to actually stop buying books entirely, but with this new Western horror craze that I'm going through, ever since Magpie Coffin came out, I've been wanting to find all of the Western horror novels and books and novellas and short stories I can find, and I want to just ingest all of them and then spit out my own story. I already got a character made, and it's gonna be badass, let me tell you. But first, I don't have a story, so I don't have a plot, I don't have characters. All I got is a title and a main character. That's all I have. All I know is that I also kind of have the setting. I know it's going to take place around the 1870s or 60s, and it's going to be in California. But that's besides the point. Let's get to this Jonathan Janz book, and that is Dust Devils. It says here, one of the best writers in modern horror to come along in the last decade, and that's a quote by Brian Keene. And Brian Keene is an author I've been meaning to check out. I wasn't a big fan of Ghoul. I gave it 3 stars. It was my cup of tea, but it wasn't a tea that I particularly liked. If that makes any sense. It's like I love coming of age stories, but Ghoul just didn't do it for me. It just kind of felt like a watered down coming of age story, if you get my drift. But that was just my opinion. I'm sure everyone likes it, so my opinion could be flawed, obviously. I just really enjoy it. But I hear his other books are really good as well, so I'm going to give him another try down the road. But anyways, Dust Devils by Jonathan Janz. It looks cool, sounds cool, and I'm going to give it a read. And I've been told on Facebook to give it a read too, so yeah. There's only a few more books I want to talk about. I'm going to scan through some of these, like Joe R. Lansdale's The Thicket. There's this book that I wanted to try out in the series of books. This is by Chuck Buddha, and it's The Curse of the Ancients, a supernatural Western thriller. And then we got a bunch of other books here. I'll show you the covers for some of these, because I feel like I'm not doing some of these books justice by not showing you the pretty covers. This one is I don't know about the cover for this one, but I do know Ian Rogers is a author I want to try. And this is Deadstock. It's only available for paperback. It's not available for ebook. I do not know why, but it's a book I've been wanting to try. And yeah, it just sounds pretty interesting. Then we have another Tim Curran book, and this one has to do with well, I'll just show you the cover. You guys can't see it very well, but that's Tim Curran's Skull Moon. I heard great things about it. Doesn't look like a horror western, but it is. And then this one, for some reason I thought I had this in paperback, but apparently it was a different Scorpion-themed book. But this is Wraiths of the Broken Land by S. Craig Zashir. I'm probably saying his name wrong. It could be Zachary for all I know, but I'm going to say Zashir. Alright, so those are the books that I want to get. I'm probably not going to get them all. I got 2 more books to talk about here. I am so sorry. The first one is just, it's a play on a word, kind of play on words of an old Western title, which is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which is one of my, it's a top 10 favorite movie of mine. This is The Good, the Bad, and the Sadistic. Not sure how Western this is, but sounds really interesting. And then the sequel obviously has a cool name as well, which is another Clint Eastwood movie ripoff title, which is A Fistful of Guts. Going off the Fistful of Dollars, I think? Not sure. I don't know. But those are the books that I want to get that I don't already have. And then lastly, we're going to talk about audiobooks. And I listened to about 18 minutes so far. Most of that was Joe R. Lansdale talking about, well, not him personally talking about, but it was he wrote this introduction and the narrator read it. The introduction to this book was very cool. Actually, without knowing it, he kind of taught me a little bit about writing, which is kind of funny, you know, because I was doing what he said was bad writing, you know, but it was his personal opinion type thing, because he was saying stuff like someone can't grunt a sentence. Try grunting a sentence. You can't say he grunted. You can't say he murmured. Well, maybe you could say that, but you can't say stuff like he enthusiastically said, because if the sentence doesn't portray an enthusiastic performance, then you have no need to even say it. He said enthusiastically. That's just basically talking to your audience like they're dumb. But anyways, it was a really cool introduction. I learned a lot, and I'm going to try to not do what he said. Maybe I'll become a better writer because of it. But that is Joe R. Lansdale's Dead Man's Road. And from the cover, I would say that there's zombies in this book. Don't know, but the cover very well says so. Those look like zombies to me. So, a Western with zombies? Yeah. It just sounds very interesting. So, but that is my horror Western self-reading challenge. Yeah, this is all because I want to intake and ingest all of the horror Westerns that I can, buy some of the best, and pump out my own horror story. And I have a name so far, but I gotta play with it still a little more because there's a lot of stories with the same name, and honestly, I don't want to pump out a book and then no one be able to find it because it has the same name as 6 other books on Amazon. So I'm gonna play with the title a little bit, maybe add something like The Terrifying or something verse the blah 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 or something like that. But basically, so far the name that I'm going with right now at this specific time is I cannot talk today. I'm sorry, guys. I'm very, very out of it, and I can't talk, so I apologize. Bone Orchard. That was a Western saying back in the 18-somethings, basically meaning cemetery. So I'm gonna do something like, I don't know, dusk at the Bone Orchard or something like that, or night at the Bone Orchard, or Hellbound Bone Orchard. I don't know yet. I have to play around with it, try to make it as Western sounding as I can, but also horrifying. So Bone Orchard sounds pretty awesome, but it's been a book. It's a book that is just not an original title, so I'm trying to work with it. This is kind of a writing vlog, isn't it? I'm working with the title and trying to make it something. Maybe name it. I'm just playing around right at the moment. Maybe take like a character and name it Wes, like West, which is the main character's name so far. I haven't really decided on a name, but I just went with West. And basically it's because he's from the West. I have no idea what his name's gonna be, but yeah, I'm working on it. It's coming along. Literally all I've done is write one character description and summary. I write character summaries to remind myself what the character has been through and what he likes and all these other things. So when I'm in the story and I forget, I will go back to my little Google Doc and I'll be like, oh, that's right, you know. So, but I got a character summary and then I got a title to play with. So, the Bone Orchard. I could do something like, traveling through the Bone Orchard. I could do. I could try to, like, I don't know. Snakes above the Bone Orchard, or I could do thorns in the Bone Orchard. There's so many things I could do, but none of it makes sense if I don't have a story. So I need to make a story, and then I'll be like, oh, well, duh, that should be the name of the story because that's what the story's about. So that's what I can't make a story, or I can't make a title without a story. So that's just me, though. People, like, I once was able to make a story all based on a stupid title. It was called Quarantine Quentin. I was like, okay, the name of the story is going to be Quarantine Quentin. What is it going to be about? And I just kind of worked from there. But I can't do that on most occasions. So right now I'm working with Bone Orchard as the title. And I'm trying to figure out, so far, it's kind of like one of those hired gunslinger type stories where someone comes to our main character who's down on his luck and he's down to do anything for work. Gunslinging, that is. If someone wants to kill someone for any reason, put some money in this dude's pocket, he'll go do it. So this guy comes to West and asks him if he can protect them as they go up north with their wagon. Or whatever they called, not buggies. I'm forgetting the name at the moment. Anyways, with their little cart thing and their horses, take him and his family up north or east. I'm not really sure where. It takes place in California, or at least that's where the story's gonna be mostly. I haven't really decided where else. So this is basically after the American-Mexican War, or Mexican-American War, whatever it's called, because California exists. So, well, it existed in Mexico, but it's owned by the U.S. now. So it's like gonna be taking place in like 1870 or something like that. So I'm just gonna say 1873 because 73 is my favorite number. I know, weird fact about me, my favorite number is 73. There's a reason behind it. My favorite number when I was a kid was set number 7. My mom's favorite number was 3. So growing up, I combined the two and told myself if I ever had a jersey, my jersey number would be 73. And every sports game I ever played, my character would have the number 73 on his chest. And honestly, there's more to it than just that. I was born on the 7th month, on the 3rd day. 7-3. 73. Yes. So, yeah. 73 is my favorite number. So we're just going to say it takes place in 1873. I'm going to look up what happened in 1873. I'm going to look up what disasters happened, what the weather was like, all these things. I'm going to read people's diaries. I'm going to read multiple links. I'm going to do so much research. I'm going to figure out the outlaws of the time. I'm going to figure out everything that happened to the Native Americans, or American Indians as they called them. I know in the 1860s they passed a law in California that gave people the right to enslave Indians. So maybe I could work with that. I'm not sure if enslaving American Indians in the 1870s was a thing, but I'm gonna work with it. I'm gonna see about it. I'm gonna look into it, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know why this has become a writing vlog. This is basically why I'm reading this whole thing, why I'm having this self-reading challenge, so I think it's important that I tell you guys. But anyways, it's about this guy named West. This guy comes to West and tells him, I need you to bodyguard my family through Hellbound County. And maybe Hellbound County is the name of the book. I don't know. I gotta find out villains, you know? I gotta find out monsters. I need to find out reasons. I need to find out a lot of stuff for the story to actually happen. I've never written a Western. I've only seen one Western, and I've only read one Western. I've read Little Heaven by Nick Cutter. And I've watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Oh, and I recently started Hell on Wheels. But other than that, I am very uncultured in Western movies, or Western anything. The Good, and the Bad, and the Ugly was amazing, but I think that was just a really good movie overall. I think everyone can enjoy it if you can get through it, I guess. I guess there is a certain demographic that wouldn't like it, but mostly I think a lot of people would like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Great name, by the way. And yeah, there's not much else to say. I'm blanking. I'm blanking. But yeah, Bone Orchard, and the main character's name is West. Takes place in 1873 California. This is after the Gold Rush, I believe. I think the Gold Rush happened in the 1840s, 50s. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. I'm gonna look it up. If the Gold Rush is happening in the 1870s, then I will have it happen in the 1870s. I will roll with it. But I'm pretty sure it happened in the 1840s, 50s. So I'm not sure. I'm not a history teacher. I'm not a history major. So do not quote me. But I don't think the Gold Rush was happening in the 1870s. I don't know. People probably were panning for gold, but I don't think they were panning for gold that often in the 1870s. I think I want my story... Let's see. I'm trying to remember when the railroad track was built from Sacramento to Wyoming. But I'm striking blank at the moment. Because before the railroad existed, my story has to take place before this railroad existed. But it has to take place after the Mexican-American War and possibly the Gold Rush. There's a lot of variables that have to go into this story. But basically, there's a lot of research to do, and there's a lot of reading to do. There's a lot of listening to do. So I'm going to go into that, and I'm going to write you the best damn horror western you will read. Maybe. That's a big maybe. But yeah. That's my goal, is to write a horror western. And yeah, and I'm probably, now that I'm thinking about it, I might start off with Demon Revolver. Only because it is very short. I mean, the Magpie Coffin, I think, comes around 215 pages. I'm not really sure. But Demon Revolver is only 93 pages. It's a small novella, so it's more manageable. I could read that like in 3 sittings, possibly. So, yeah. Sorry, I got stuck reading the back for some reason. It says that Woodsman 2 is a sequel, but it doesn't say what it's a sequel to. So it makes it sound like it's a sequel to Demon Revolver. Or, Revolver. Wait, is it not called Demon Revolver? The book's called Demon Revolver, but is the short story called Demon Revolver? So I might have jacked up. No, it's called Demon Revolver. Yeah. Don't know why I second guessed myself. It must have been a typo in the synopsis there, because it says it's called The Revolver, but it's really called The Demon Revolver. Alright. I am gonna end this video because this is going too long. I will either read this Demon Revolver, this novella first, or I will read The Magpie Coffin first. But this happens after I finish the 2 books I'm currently reading. So, my friend, just to let you know, I'm not quitting Bloodkin by Roland Kelly, and I'm not quitting Voodoo Heart by John Everson. But I will start this horror western as soon as I finish those 2 books. I'm very excited to read those 2 books. They should be a lot of fun. I'm going to probably read a little bit as soon as I get off this computer. But, yeah, Demon Revolver and Magpie Coffin. Those 2 books sound very, very interesting, and I want to read them. So, I'm going to read them. This has been Spooky Noodles. I have been talking for 45 minutes now. Let's end this video, shall we? I will put you out of your misery. This is longer than I originally intended. I intended this to be a 10-minute video, and of course I went 35 minutes over. So, yippee. More content for you, I guess. Or y'all probably clicked off as soon as you saw how long this video was. Oh no, you probably didn't click on it in the beginning in the first place. I'm stupid. This just finished this video. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you have a spooky night. I hope you will read my horror western when it releases, whenever it releases. I'm guessing in 2 years, because it takes me a year to write a story and it takes me a year to edit a story, apparently. So I'll see you in the next video, which is probably tomorrow. I don't know. Can't say for sure. I probably will skip tomorrow just to give me a break, because even though I love doing these videos, there's nothing really to talk about. I doubt I'm getting anything in the mail. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about the horror stories that we're gonna be reading soon, and they're all Western themed. So yeah, goodbye guys, peace out.